As the title of the video suggests, Blueprints is one of the most unique games I have ever had the pleasure of playing. I don't think I've ever experienced a game that has mixed elements of puzzle games, roguelikes, and mystery detective games into a fusion quite as interesting and deep as the one present in this game. If you'll allow me to spoil only the first few minutes of the game to help you decide if it sounds like something you'd want to play, Blueprints puts you in the shoes of a teenager named Simon P. Jones who inherited a mansion from a recently deceased family member. In their will, they make it abundantly clear that the only way this inheritance will go through is if you successfully find the 46th room in this mansion that only has space for 45 rooms. This task also has a few extra stipulations plastered onto it. Simon isn't allowed to sleep in the mansion, so he decides to sleep in a tent posted on one of the many lawns on this estate. He isn't allowed to keep anything he finds in any of the rooms for reuse on subsequent days and must hence start each day of exploration empty-handed, with the most important part of this entire experience being the fact that at the end of each day, the mansion changes its layout, leading to a brand new experience each and every day. In gameplay terms, that looks something like this. You start at the mansion entrance with 3 closed doors in front of you. You walk to one of them, click on it, and a choice to place down one of 3 distinct rooms appears. You may now walk into the newly placed room, which takes away one of your steps, and you rinse and repeat until you either run out of steps or decide for yourself to end the day and try again. Every room has its own unique layout, rarity, pros, cons, and interesting interactions with your exploration of the mansion, and in order to find the elusive Room 46, you'll have to master both the game mechanics and the RNG that is baked into the very core of the game. This is the entire premise. If it sounds fun and interesting, I wish you the best of luck in finding Room 46. And while my synopsis ignored a few things I could talk about, like items and the grounds surrounding the mansion, this is where you should stop watching the video if you don't want to get spoiled. Please go play it for yourself and form your own opinions before I say the sentence I am going to say in about 3 seconds. Are they gone? Right, so this game is fucking evil and I love it. For context, I have technically speaking beaten this game. Not only have I found Room 46, but I have even returned to it and accumulated 7 of the hinted at keys. Yet I'm certain that it will shock anyone that's still watching and hasn't played the game, that despite me getting a cutscene and rolling credits, I don't feel like I've even scratched the surface of what this game has to offer. Because upon my first arrival to Room 46, the game might as well have just skipped the cutscene and credits and gone, "Congratulations! On completing the tutorial, fuck you, this is where the game actually begins." I reached the final room on the 25th day about a dozen hours after starting the game for the first time. Currently, I am already way past day 60, over 28 hours into the game, still racking my brain and going back for that one more run. I still find myself constantly returning to these halls, finding something new and being gobsmacked by the sheer size and depth of this game over and over and over again. Blueprints was in development for 8 years before its release, and it feels like it has 8 layers of hidden routes, hints, obtuse puzzles, and mindfuckery all intermixed with this core gameplay loop of building and navigating a mansion that is incredibly RNG based. And sadly, with how deep the rabbit hole goes, I don't think I'll ever get anywhere close to the actual ending of this game. As of the time of writing, I have spent 28 hours in this game and I still haven't found every room. Even though I started looking up a few guides online, I am not even close to solving every puzzle. And I feel like I'm actively being gaslit because apparently the wrench is the best tool in the game and helps cut down on a lot of frustration with the RNG of the game, yet I've never fucking found the damn thing. Meanwhile, I've heard stories from numerous people about how they haven't found a magnifying glass till like day 30, and here I am on the 4th day already using it on every note and picture I can get my hands on. Blueprints does not give a single solitary care about giving the players hints in a linear way. What it cares about is giving you hints at every step you take, most of the times without you even realizing it, and hoping that some of what you're seeing here will ingrain itself into your mind. Because it's not enough for the game to have an RNG mansion builder game with hints dropped at every conceivable location that makes you feel like a complete jackass for not spotting them sooner. It has an entire basement area filled with secrets, interconnected paths that you need to unlock, and puzzles you need to solve. It has excavation done during the First World War that interlinks rooms and areas like it's a Dark Souls 1 level on steroids. It also has permanent upgrades that help you neutralize most of the RNG elements of the game in the forms of starting money and gems, additional steps, buffs, bonus outdoor areas that are sometimes also interlinked with the mansion and its underground. And if you somehow think that that isn't enough, it has the history of an entire fictional world built into it, because 7 seconds ago when I said that the excavations were done during World War I lied. Despite its late 1900s feel, the world and logic of Blueprints is entirely made up. So you will find yourself not only trying to uncover the secrets of what happened to your family members and having to relearn everything you know about mathematics, chemistry, and geography, but potentially also making sure you learn an entire new language on top of that, because I guess this game was made in collaboration with J.R.R. Tolkien. There are times where the RNG gods will smile down upon you and you will draft the specific rooms you need to solve a puzzle, or find and combine 3 different items for an entirely new item that you need, and you'll smile thinking that you're finally going to beat the game, just for your reward to be an even more difficult to solve puzzle. There are secret areas behind secret areas that are themselves located behind multiple complex puzzles and items you must attain, all tied to RNG and specific mansion floors. And your reward for following all these clues to what you assume is the end is an entirely new puzzle that you now have to connect to a random book in the library and then get a code from that, and it just keeps on going and going and going. Blueprints is a puzzle solver's wet dream that basically demands you to pay attention to every single minute thing in your environment and take copious notes if you want to solve all of its mysteries. And outside of just explaining the puzzles at you, I don't think I can give a better pitch for the game than what I just said. If you want a completely non-linear puzzle game where everyone will arrive at the same conclusions but with drastically different methods, a puzzle game that just keeps going deeper and deeper as it progresses until you get completely lost in its sheer size and complexity, give Blueprints a try. Even if the rabbit hole approach sounds too much for you, I believe that even the most basic gameplay loop of this always changing, mostly random mansion mixed with the premise of finding room 46 is strong enough to recommend this game for people looking for a fun mystery exploration game. And if I had to talk about a few grievances that I personally have with the game, firstly, I believe the RNG when drawing rooms in the early to mid game is a bit too unforgiving at times. Like, don't get me wrong, after you get a few permanent upgrades to your starting gold, gems, rooms, and even the mansion itself, it becomes a lot more bearable, and I generally love the feeling of conquering the mansion to the point where I can basically keep the RNG at a minimum at this point. However, there were many times before achieving this goal where I just wanted to give up. Whether an attempt would just stop at the 3rd or 4th rank, or I arrived right at the final door just to draw 3 rooms that didn't have the correct layout, it was oftentimes frustrating. And while I can look back now with over a few dozen hours under my belt and see that maybe I was a bit too stubborn with my plan of going directly for room 46, the game gives you that and only that as a clear goal to work towards. So maybe my real issue is that the developers tried to hide what the game is actually about a bit too much for my liking. I also find it kind of weird how the only reason I ever got to the point where I start every run with 50 gold wasn't because of some gradual buildup of coins over time. It was because I just happened to hit a laboratory experiment where for every piece of trash I dug up, I got 1 permanent gold, while also having a shovel and root cellar. So if I were to make a graph of my starting gold progress in the game, the graph would look something like this. I think a few more puzzle boxes scattered throughout the mansion, perhaps in those difficult to open safes, wouldn't be amiss. And when it comes to the endgame, my biggest issue with the post-credits content is that there is no real story hook after you find room 46. In theory, I don't mind the way the game drip feeds you lore and story elements. However, when there are so many things to constantly think about, and when the crumbs of world building are not only few and far between, but also presented in a non-linear way, addressed to multiple different people that you have to remember, while also sometimes turning out to not be true in the first place, all I can say is that these elements never really managed to pull me into the mystery the same way that Room 46 did, so right now I'm just kind of doing puzzles for the sake of doing puzzles. I'm certain that when you piece all of these elements together, they make a very cohesive whole. I just think that an in-game journal for things like letters, red envelopes, newspaper clippings and the like wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. But overall, Blueprints is just stunning. It is a meticulously crafted experience with a great combination of puzzle solving and light RNG elements that shines brightest when the players don't just rush through its world towards the ending. Instead, they should take their time, take all of this atmosphere and world building in, and keep copious amounts of notes on hand, something that yours truly thought he did, but apparently a dozen or so sticky notes did not do this game's depth even a crumb of justice. It walks a fine line between moments of frustration where the drought of new revelations pushes you to the brink of giving up, and moments of unadulterated joy as this one combination of rooms, that one combination of items, or sometimes even an entirely new room appearing after over 24 hours of gameplay provides a plethora of new leads, enhancements, or revelations that push you along your journey. And while I may not be in love with every decision made in this game, the fact that I'm flip-flopping between an 8 and 9 out of 10 on this one goes to show just how much I loved my time with the game, and how much I would urge everyone to at least give it a fair shot.